I would like to thank Zina for inviting me to conduct this online training session, and also allow me to send you my warmest greetings in these difficult situations that we are going all through. I hope that everything is okay with you and your people, wherever you are connecting from today. I hope that the situation will come back to normal very soon. Today's presentation will be covering two main topics. The first topic is Horizon Europe, which is the main program for research and innovation of the European Union. So we will give like an overall picture of this program, describing what are the main goals and expected impact, the budget proposed for it, and its structure and contents. We will put special attention to the European Innovation Council pilot, which is actually the second topic that we will be addressing during this webinar. And for this second topic, the European Innovation Council, we will go through its main pilot instruments with a particular emphasis on the EIC Accelerator, or better known as a SME instrument. And we will finish the webinar with a little time for questions and comments that you may want to ask and share. So let's get started with Horizon Europe, which is the main program for research and innovation of the European Union, running from 21 to 27. And just to put you a little bit in context, in March 2019, the European Parliament and the European Council greenlights the proposal drafted by the European Commission for the next research and innovation program, 2021-2027. And by this, they approved the overall frame of Horizon Europe, and also they make a budget proposal. And since then, since last year, the European Commission has been conducting a systematic process of consultations and development in order to first identify the key areas for research and innovation budget per areas and targeted impact of the program, to define missions and European partnerships, areas of international cooperation, synergies with other EU funding programs, but also starting to define the mechanisms of implementation, model grant agreement, proposal submission system, evaluation, and so on. So the result of this process will be set out in a multi-annual strategic plan to prepare the content of the work programs and calls for proposals for the first 4 years of Horizon Europe, which are due to be launched by January 2021. So Horizon Europe's goals are pretty much similar to those for Horizon 2020. So basically, Horizon Europe aims to first, to have a scientific impact in terms of creating high quality knowledge, strengthening human capital, and fostering the diffusion of knowledge and open science. Then it has an economic expected impact in relation to generating innovation-based growth, creating more and better jobs, and leveraging investments in research and innovation. And then it has a societal impact by addressing EU policy priorities through research and innovation, delivering benefits and impact through the missions, and strengthening the uptake of innovation in society. And for these three main goals, the European Commission is proposing 100 billion euros for the program, budget that we will see now in more detail. So for this 100 billion euros that the European Commission is proposing for Horizon Europe 2021-2027, it will be divided in the following way. So we have 1/4 of this budget going to excellent science and research infrastructures. We have about half of the budget going to global challenges, industrial competitiveness, and activities of the European Joint Research Centre. Then we have 13.5 billion euros going to innovation and development of solutions close to market through the activities of the European Innovation Council and the European Institute of Technology and Innovation. And then we have 4.5 billion euros that will go to widen participation and sharing excellence with specific countries within the European Union, and also to reinforce European research area. And on top of this, I mean, within this budget, we have also 3.5 billion allocated to the InvestEU Fund, which is an instrument created in the frame of the Juncker's plan aimed at mobilizing public and private investment using guarantees from the EU budget, mainly through the European Investment Bank. So the budget of Horizon Europe is considerably higher to the budget of previous framework programs, and actually it is almost 30% higher than the Horizon 2020 budget, and it stands for around 90% of all investments foreseen for research and innovation for the next multi-financial framework 2021-2027, which besides Horizon Europe includes other programs such as Digital Europe, Connecting Europe Facility, Euratom, or the InvestEU Fund. So the structure of Horizon Europe is pretty much similar to the Horizon 2020 structure, although there are a number of important novelties that we will underline as we go further on in the presentation. So Horizon Europe is divided into three main pillars. We have a pillar one, so-called Open Science, which includes the European Research Council, the Maria Skłodowska-Curie actions and research infrastructures. We have a second pillar, also known as Global Challenges and Industrial Competitiveness, where 6 thematic clusters have been devised, and activities of the European Joint Research Centre are also included. And then we have a third pillar called Innovative Europe, also Open Innovation, which is devoted to innovation in a broad sense, in a very broad sense, as we will see. And it includes the European Innovation Council and the European Innovation Ecosystems and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. Complementary to these three pillars, we have a transversal program known as a widening participation and strengthening the European research area. And finally, we have the Euratom Research and Training Program and the InvestEU Fund that you can see in gray at the bottom of this slide. And these two programs, although they get funding from Horizon Europe, they will be getting funding from Horizon Europe, they have different rules for participation, and therefore they will be implemented through separated dedicated programs. So comparing Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe in terms of allocation of resources, we can see some differences. The first is the allocation for funding for excellent science under Pillar 1 remains pretty much the same, although we can see that there is an increase of resources going to the European Research Council. In industrial leadership and societal challenges from Horizon 2020 have been somehow merged into Pillar 2 in Horizon Europe, together with the Joint Research Centre. The budget for the program widening participation and strengthening the European research area has been doubled from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. And probably the main difference between the two schemes is Pillar 3, Innovative Europe, in which the European Commission has put together a number of instruments purely devoted to innovation and stimulation of close-to-market developments. So some of these instruments, those highlighted with a yellow dot, with a yellow star, have been relocated from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. Some have been brought in from outside Horizon 2020, such as the case of the EU Invest Fund, and some others have been newly created, such as it's the case of the European Innovation Council or the European Innovation Ecosystems. So let's go pillar by pillar. Let's start with the Pillar 1, Excellent Science, which is devoted to reinforcing excellence and international presence of the European science. For this pillar, there will be funding for basic research at the frontier of knowledge through actions of the European Research Council, such as starting grants, consolidator grants, proof of concept, and so on, which are targeted to top researchers and research teams. Then we have the Maria Skłodowska-Curie actions, which support the professional career development of both early stage researchers and experienced researchers through mostly mobility and training activities. And here we have actions such as individual fellowships or innovative training networks, or research and innovation staff exchange schemes, so co-fund doctoral programs, postdoc, pre-doc doctoral programs, some of them in collaboration with the industry, and so on. Then we have research infrastructures, both physical and virtual research infrastructures, as well as transnational access to such research infrastructures. So under this pillar, we may typically expect research projects, individual research projects of bottom-up approach, between 1.5 to 2.5 million and up to 5 years duration. Although some other kind of actions may involve international consortia. So if we go to Pillar 2, Global Challenges and the European Industrial Competitiveness has half of the budget of Horizon Europe, and it's organized around 6 thematic clusters: health, culture, creativity and inclusive societies, civil security for society, digital industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, and food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment. And each of these clusters will contribute to the generation of technologies and solutions to global societal challenges. So it's something similar to what we have in Horizon 2020 now under Pillar 3, but also to reach specific sustainable development goals, as these goals serve as reference points in reshaping EU policies, also supported by the services of the Joint Research Center. And for each of these 6 thematic clusters devised within Pillar 2, a number of areas of intervention are being defined right now, as you can see in this slide. So these areas of intervention are being elaborated by the time being, and specific work programs and call for proposals will be developed for each cluster. The calls that are due for publication by January 2021, if everything goes well on track. So highlighted in red, you can see areas of intervention related to sectors that might be of the interest of partners and collaborators of the VIDA consortium, such as, for instance, those related to agro-food industry, environment, low carbon economy, circular economy, and so on, as well as others linked to health, for example, or key enabling technologies. So the kind of projects that we may expect within this pillar are top-down, I mean, pre-selected thematics, closed thematics, normally in the form of large international consortia, with the participation of universities, research organizations, industry, end users, public authorities, etc. We have different funding schemes here, from research innovation actions, coordination and support actions. We also have different budget scales, ranging from 1 million to more than 10 million, and project duration from 2 to 5 years. So we have a wide array of different typology of projects, but normally in the form of international consortia and involving a wide range of innovation actors, research and innovation actors. But one of the main novelties of Horizon Europe is its mission-oriented approach. And by this, we mean that a limited number of highly visible research and innovation missions will be put in play under Pillar 2, drawing also on inputs from other pillars. But what is this? What are missions? This is something quite new in Horizon Europe, and partly inspired by the Apollo 11 mission to put a man on the moon. So the European Research Innovation missions aim to find solutions to some of the greatest challenges that our society is facing. So basically, a mission is a mandate to find solutions to a global challenge through a portfolio of projects in very specific areas. And this portfolio of projects will have a bottom-up approach, open approach, very clear measurable goals and expected impact, a certain time frame, and a dedicated budget for it. And they should involve a very broad range of stakeholders, including citizens, in order to ensure the greatest impact on society and EU policies. So, following an open consultation launched by the European Commission last year, that resulted from more than 2,000 proposals on missions submitted by researchers, innovators, civil society, and other stakeholders. The European Commission has identified 5 mission areas, each with a dedicated mission board and assembly. So we have a mission area on adaptation to climate change and societal transformation, another one on cancer, another mission area on soil health and food projects, 4th mission area on climate neutral and smart cities, and another one on healthy oceans, seas, coastal and inland waters. So once more, I've highlighted for you in red in this slide those missions that might be of the interest thematic-wise of partners and collaborators of the VIDA consortium. How these missions are going to coexist with the different thematic clusters within Pillar 2 is something that we don't yet have information about. But however, it is not difficult to see that there is a correlation between missions and some of the areas of intervention foreseen across such thematic clusters. So what is clear is that missions will have a bottom-up approach, differently to other actions within Pillar 2. They will have their own goals and expected impact, time frame, budget, and dedicated calls for proposals. And evaluations may differ from mission to mission in order to enable flexibility, synergies, and potential adaptation from different portfolio of projects so that impact of actions can be maximized. And then we have Pillar 3, which is other of the main novelties of Horizon Europe, and it brings together a number of instruments devoted to stimulate innovation and market creation. And for this, the Pillar 3 will deploy support actions through the European Innovation Council first. The European Innovation Council was launched in 2017 as a pilot initiative, aiming to support researchers and innovators to develop innovations with the potential to create new markets, either by supporting early stage science and technology projects or close to market or very close to market projects with a potential to scale up. And we have the European innovation ecosystems, which will develop mechanisms for collaboration between different stakeholders of the regional innovation ecosystems, academia, industry, different levels of public sector and civil society, and also connections between such regional ecosystems across Europe. European innovation ecosystems may be somehow related to actions within Horizon 2020, such as InnoSat, for example, in the sense of testing new approaches for better innovation through funding and collaboration between actors of the innovation ecosystems, sharing skills, infrastructure, markets, and so on. As for the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, the EIT, it will keep bringing together actors from the knowledge triangle, I mean research, education, and business, empowering innovators and entrepreneurs through education courses, entrepreneurship activities, business creation, acceleration services. These are the so-called KICs, knowledge and innovation communities, that you may have heard of. We already have 8 KICs in different themes, all of them under the umbrella of the EIT. In addition to Pillar 1, 2, and 3, we have a transversal program in Horizon Europe, which is called Widening Participation and Strengthening the European Research Area. And this program is addressed to a number of countries in the EU which rank low in terms of research and innovation performance, so that this program aims to increase their participation and to exploit their excellence potential. So there are a number of countries, 13 countries in total, that will can greatly benefit from this program, so that the funding is addressed to them. To achieve so, widening, which is doubling its budget in Horizon Europe, foresees actions to support capacity building, knowledge transfer, such as institutional building and networking, support to networks of national contact points, sharing excellence, etc. And synergies with the European structural and investment funds are also an important component of this program. So in addition to the widening, we have other elements addressed by this program, such as open science, citizen science, responsible research and innovation, promotion of research careers, or gender issues. So to complete this first main topic of the webinar, we took a look now to the InvestEU Fund, which, although it is not part of Horizon Europe, part of its budget does come from Horizon Europe, and subsequently some actions of Horizon Europe will be partially funded by the InvestEU Fund. For instance, those involving equity funding for the SME instrument under the EIC Pilot Accelerator, as we will see further on. So InvestEU is built on Juncker plans, or the European Fund for Strategic Investments, and aims to mobilize public and private investments to support access to finance in the EU, mostly through the European Investment Bank. So this program consists of the InvestEU Fund, the InvestEU Assistance or Advisory Hub, and the InvestEU Portal. The InvestEU Assistance provides technical support and assistance for preparation and implementation of projects. The InvestEU Portal brings together investors and project promoters through a database and networking tools, matchmaking tools. And the InvestEU Fund supports 4 policy areas through 4 investment windows: research, innovation, and digitalization, sustainable infrastructure, small and medium enterprises, and social investment and skills. And around 60% of the total budget of this fund goes to research, innovation, digitalization SMEs, enabling therefore investments into research and innovation for further exploitation, scale up, and penetration in the market. What InvestEU Fund does is integrate a number of equity, warranty, and risk-sharing financial instruments under a single umbrella, where it is worth to mention the instrument InnoFin, as you can see here in this slide. So InnoFin is under Horizon 2020 and also Horizon Europe, provide optional funding, equity funding, via the European Investment Bank to support research and innovation by companies, mostly early stage enterprises, SMEs, and small mid-caps. So within this InnoFin tool, we have different tools addressed to different kind of organizations, of which I'm showing you in this slide those addressed to early stage enterprises and SMEs, which are technology transfer, business angel, venture capital, and funds of funds. But access to some of this funding under Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe is possible through the EIC Accelerator Pilot of the European Innovation Council, or the SME-Instrument, that we will see further on. But however, to access this equity funding, the European Investment Bank will assess interested applicants through a process of due diligence, so-called, which is a process of investigation and verification of a potential investment opportunity in order to confirm all relevant facts and financial information of the company requesting the grant, financial records, past company performance, plus any else material. So we continue now with the second key novelty of Horizon Europe, which is the European Innovation Council and its pilot instruments. So Horizon 2020 supports SMEs participation across the whole program, yet with a particular focus on close-to-market support. So we have funding for SMEs in Pillars 2 and Pillars 3 of Horizon 2020, where around 20% of the total combined budget goes to SMEs. We have the SME instrument, which provides a full cycle business innovation support through a 3 phases process, now 2 phases process, including coaching and mentoring services. Now this SME instrument is integrated into the European Innovation Council, and as you may know, phase 1 of the SME instrument, which was oriented to feasibility studies, has been phased out. So there is no SME instrument phase 1 anymore since September 2019. We have the COSME program, which supports SMEs, entrepreneurs, cluster organizations, and regional development agencies. We have access to risk finance, which provides funding to early stage research and innovation driven SMEs, small and mid caps, through guarantees and other forms of debt finance through the European Investment Bank. We have innovation in SMEs activities, which supports SMEs and also the innovation agencies who work with them through instruments such as InnoSAP, for example, and also the Eureka joint program, which promotes transnational collaboration of research and innovation performing SMEs. And between all these wide array of instruments, we have the new star of the show in Horizon Europe, which is the enhanced European Innovation Council. And the European Innovation Council was launched in 2017 as a pilot initiative in order to provide funding opportunities for researchers, innovators, and entrepreneurs, mostly startups, that bring ideas radically different to existing products, current products, very highly risky proposals, and also ideas with a potential to scale up internationally. So basically, the EIC aims to support these radical and novel and new ideas and scalable disruptive innovations in any field and sector, and particularly those with a high potential selected on basis of idea and team capacity. The second goal of the EIC is to provide funding through grants, equity, and private investments. And the third main goal of the EIC is to build ecosystems and communities by supporting access to coaching, mentoring, advisory services, networking, and partners. And to achieve this, a total of 3 billion euros have already been earmarked by the European Commission for the period 2018-2020, and a budget of 10 billion euros under Horizon Europe will be allocated from 2021 to 2027. So let's take a look to the EIC. So basically, the European Innovation Council consists of two main pilot schemes, the EIC Pathfinder and EIC Accelerator. We have the Fast Track to Innovation, and then we have the EIC Prizes. The EIC Pathfinder Pilot comprises FED Open and FED Proactive, which offers full funded grants, 100% grants, to promote early stage science and innovation for radical new future technologies, carried out by international consortia. EIC Pathfinder has targeted calls, top-down, based on topics identified in the work program, along with other open-up call for proposals. Then we have the EIC Accelerator, which, as already mentioned, builds on the SME-Instrument phase 2 and provides funding in the form of co-funded grants or blended finance, which combine grant plus equity funding. As already mentioned, the SME-Instrument phase 1 has been phased out since September 2019, so it is no longer available. And the EIC Accelerator has a bottom-up approach and support individual SMEs, high-risk, high-potential SMEs, in order to develop and commercialize new products, services, and businesses that can shape new markets. Then we have the Fast Track to Innovation, which supports mature technologies, concepts, and business models, which are close to market, and also similarly to the EIC Accelerator, has a scale-up potential, but differently. In this case, Fast Track to Innovation is not proposed by individual SMEs, but small consortia of organizations where participation of the industry is mandatory. And then we have the EIC Prizes that have the goal to address major challenges. They are open to both legal entities or individuals, and there are 6 different topics set out for these EIC prizes. So additionally, we have coaching, mentoring, and business acceleration services provided by the EIC to all SMEs participating in EIC Pathfinder, EIC Accelerator, or Fast Track Innovation. Coaching services cover business and organizational development, cooperation, and financing through the Enterprise Europe Network mostly. Then we have the mentoring, aims to develop leadership skills and address to founders, CEOs, and leaders. And then we have the business acceleration services provided in the form of the previous two ones, so coaching, training, links to investors, public and private procurers of innovation, and networking with other EIC beneficiaries. So in this slide, you can see for each EIC instrument more detailed information related to targeted beneficiaries, funding schemes, amount and type of funding, the funding rates, average project duration, the focus or approach, the starting and expected technology readiness level, and the total budget available for the period 2019-2020. So the EIC Pathfinder offers fully funded grants of up to 5 million euros to promote collaborative early stage research projects of up to 48 months duration and around specific topics such as artificial intelligence, implantable autonomous devices and materials, so technologies for zero emissions energy generation. So it is a top-down approach. Although some instruments within the EIC, such as the FET Open, is bottom-up. So then we have the EIC Accelerator that offers co-funded grants or blended funding, which combines grant plus equity, from 500,000 to up to 17.5 million going to individual SMEs for bottom-up projects close to market with a potential to scale up. Duration of these projects normally goes or varies between 12 and 24 months. We have the Fast Track to Innovation that offers co-funded grants of up to 3 million euros to support mature technologies close to market, also with a potential to scale up, coming not from individual SMEs, but from small industrial consortia. And project duration normally is up to 36 months. And then we have the EIC prizes that are open to one or more entities or individuals, provide full funded grants between 5 million and 10 million euros per prize around 6 different topics. And we have here batteries for e-vehicles, artificial photosynthesis, something very important now, which is the early warning for epidemics, blockchain, or humanitarian aid. In relation to the technology readiness levels that you can see at the bottom of the table, these are indicators of the maturity level of a certain technology. So this TRL measurement that provides a common understanding of technology status and addresses the entire innovation change. So there are 9 technology readiness levels, TRL1 being the lowest and TRL9 the highest. The TRLs in Pathfinder ranges from level 2 to level 5, I mean from technology formulation to large-scale prototype. TRLs in EIC Accelerator starts from 6, which is a prototype system, to TRL 8, or even higher than 8, even the full commercial application, depending if the project is funded by grant only or by grant plus equity. The TRLs in Fast Track to Innovation are similar to those for the EIC Accelerator, so ranging between level 6 and level 8. And TRLs for EIC prices varies between 3 and 6. TRLs of EIC instruments can be also compared with those for other instruments of Horizon 2020, as you can see from this slide, where I pointed out with colored arrows those for FED EIC prices, Fast Track to Innovation, and SME grant only and grant plus equity. So we are going to explore now the EIC Accelerator Pilot, which can be particularly interesting for you and the companies you collaborate with. And the EIC Accelerator is targeted to individual SMEs, I mean enterprises with less than 250 employees and less than 50 million euros in annual turnover, companies established in a EU member state or Horizon 2020 associated country, eager to propose high-risky, disruptive innovations close to market with a high growth potential and possibility to scale up, and with a prototype. So EIC Accelerator is based on a bottom-up approach, and therefore it's open to all fields and sectors. But in relation to this, and in light of the Green Deal proposal put forward by the European Commission for Sustainable Development, the next call for proposals of the SME instrument, closing by the end of May, will support the implementation of this Green Deal by encouraging SMEs to innovate on clean technologies and circular economy, as it has already done, for instance, with the COVID-19 pandemic in the previous call for proposals. So the indicative range of grants funded by the EIC Accelerator goes from 0.5 to 2.5 million, co-financing up to 70% of the eligible costs. An additional funding up to 15 million is available through equity investment, which should cover all activities needed to develop and scale up proposed innovations, including those close to market. So here, innovation should already be at the TRL level of 6, which means having a prototype or above at the start of the project. And also SMEs requesting only grant must demonstrate their ability to secure other resources for activities above TRL8. Project duration of the SME instrument varies between 1 and 2 years, and typical activities include piloting, testing, demonstration, validation, scaling up production, verification of performance, and clinical trials, and so on. If needed, the essential expertise for the innovation can be also subcontracted. The proposals must be focused on innovation activities, therefore, that will lead from business concept, or in this case, business prototype, to a market-ready product, providing a mandatory business plan in line with the company's growth strategy. So how the EIC Accelerator proposals are evaluated? They are evaluated on a scale from 1 to 15 points upon 3 main criteria with the same weighting for each. So we have excellence, which addresses elements such as feasibility, degree of novelty or state of the art, and innovation potential. We have implementation, quality and efficiency of implementation, which covers elements such as leverage of investments and quality of the team. And then impact. And impact evaluates aspects such as commercial strategy, potential to scale up, or associated financial needs. In addition to these 3 evaluation criteria, if the company has requested equity funding, I mean funding from 2.5 million up to 15 million, they will be subject to a due diligence by the European Investment Bank, which, as already mentioned, is a process of verification of potential investment opportunity by confirming relevant financial information of the company interested in this kind of funding. So evaluation is carried out in 2 steps. So we have a remote evaluation by a panel of experts combining profiles of technology people, but also business and finance people, of course. And then we have a face-to-face interview with the pre-selected applicant. This interview takes place in Brussels and is carried out by experts who are grouped in 6 thematic juries. So interviews normally take 30 minutes, 1 hour in total, and are conducted by panels of normally 5 people from different profiles and not necessarily experts in your field. So we have there business angels, we have influencers, innovation managers, entrepreneurs, investors, etc. So at the end of the evaluation process, there might be 3 possible scenarios. a go decision, a no-go decision, or change into a blended finance decision. So threshold for funding is 13 out of 15 points. However, I have to tell you that actual funding, as you may know, requires a much higher grade because it's an extremely competitive program. Just to give you some data, analysis of the results published on February 2020 shows that the average success rate of the SME instrument based on number of submissions was 4.7 for SME instrument phase, which no longer exists, and around 8.5, 8.6% for SME instrument phase 2. And let me give you some figures to explain why actual funding requires much higher than 13 out of 15 points. You can see here on the top left side of the screen the results of the SME instrument call for which closed in September 2019. So the average success rate based on the number of submissions was 8.57%. We had around 3,300 proposals submitted. 814 proposals were above threshold. Then we have 283 proposals selected for funding, which means that more than 500 proposals above threshold got no funding, and only these 283 made it through the selected ones. So the competition is quite high, quite tough. You can also see here in the yellow picture the preliminary figures of proposals submitted for the call closing on 20th of March 2020, where more than 4,000 proposals have been submitted and more than 1,000 proposals have been submitted addressing COVID-19 issues. But you can find more data on projects, countries, beneficiaries, and topics on the website of the EIC Accelerator Data Hub and also on the Funding and Tenders portal of the European Commission. Just to summarize the EIC Accelerator Pilot application process, step by step, we have a submission of proposals, which have a maximum length of 30 pages. The call for proposals are normally open for a period between 2 to 4 months, depending on the cut-off deadline. Proposals then are remotely evaluated and ranked within 3 months from date of application. Then there is an interview in Brussels for pre-selected applicants, and if the evaluation is positive and the project is selected for funding, a go decision will be followed by the signature of the grant agreement in the case of grant only, or a process of due diligence by the European Investment Bank in the case of blending finance option. And finally, grants will be awarded to applicants within 6 months after the date of application in the case of grant only, or longer, a little bit longer than 6 months in the case of equity investment, leading afterwards to the start of the project. If you or any of your collaborators are interested in the EIC Pilot Accelerator, it is important for you to know that there are still 2 more calls for proposals before the end of Horizon 2020. Proposals which will be closing on the 19th of May 2020. And this is the one addressing the Green Deal topic on clean technologies, with interview for selected applicants to take place in Brussels by the end of June, beginning of July this year. Who knows what will happen really with the deadlines. And then we'll have the second call and the last call of the SME instrument of Horizon 2020 on the 7th of October, with interview planned for mid-November this year. And just to finish this presentation, I'm sharing with you some sources of information, as well as a quick video explaining to you the European Innovation Council, much quicker and simpler that I have done today. So you have information here about Horizon 2020, about Horizon Europe, European Innovation Council, a database on EIC projects, the work program of the EIC 2018-2020, the funding and tenders portal of the European Commission database of your national contact points for the EIC in case that you are requested or need more information about the program, and some interesting documents on frequently asked questions. So thank you very much for your attention, and I remain open to any questions or comments that you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jorge, for your presentation. It has been very interesting, and we have some questions. We remind you that you can write all the questions you have using the chat. The first one is from Ludovico Bonfiglio, sorry for my pronunciation, and he says that he's an inventor with more than 18 inventions on renewable energy, energy saving, sustainable mobility, IoT, and nuclear safety. I have a patent already granted in Europe. My problem is that banks in Italy do not help me to participate in European national or regional tenders for lack of guarantees. Who can help me? So what do you recommend him in the European framework? Sorry, Jorge, we can't hear you. Have you unmute? You have to unmute your microphone. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, okay,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, what I understand is that the problem might be that banks in Italy, in his case, do not help him to participate in European national or regional tenders. Well, this is a difficult question. I don't know. I would suggest him to really explore through the work program the details of the EIC Accelerator in this case, or other program funding research and innovation for SMEs. I mean, the work program is quite clear about eligible conditions. We have to remember that the funding, the extra funding provided through Horizon 2020 for SMEs, and in this case through the EIC Accelerator, is equity funding through the European Investment Bank. I am aware of companies that I am familiar with, that they are combining different kind of funding streams coming from public and also private funding. So what I may suggest is to take a look to the work program, and also to ask for some information to his national contact points in Italy dealing with the EIC.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Jorge. And a question from Carmen. She asks, is there any changing in EIC Accelerator Pilot after the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, this is a very interesting question, because nobody knows yet. What we can see from the last call, closed a few days ago, is that the Commission launched like it wasn't an official communication, but it was like a public, voice for those companies interested in the EIC Accelerator to submit ideas to fight the COVID-19. We can see that from the preliminary results of proposals submitted for this call, where we have like more than 4,000 proposals submitted, and over 1,000 proposals submitted related to COVID-19. So nobody knows what's going to happen. EIC still Accelerator still have an open up a bottom approach. Some indications may make think that more resources will go to find not only the COVID-19 but also another epidemics. We cannot forget also that under the EIC prices, for instance, we have 6 topics, and one of them is fighting and preventing epidemics. So, but this is only a personal opinion. I guess that more resources might go to epidemics in the next framework program, both under the EIC Accelerator Pilot and other programs as well.
Okay, thank you, Jorge. And another question from Marisa from Sinai. She asked, I would like to ask you about research infrastructure in Pilar 1. Could SMEs ask for grants to develop the own research infrastructure or innovation centers?
Thank you, Marisa, for your question. Research infrastructures program within Pillar 1, normally it's addressed to a number of big infrastructures or international reference European infrastructures, normally in the frame of the S3 roadmap, which is like a mapping of European research infrastructure. So they are like huge infrastructures that are co-funded by different member states under different EU programs. So the question is that you can difficult get funding from Pillar 1 research infrastructures, if not possible, to develop your own research infrastructure as an SME, but you may benefit to have transnational access to those big research infrastructures that are funded under Pillar 1. So the answer would be no.
Okay, thank you. And one question from Raquel Simon. She asked, is the structure of EIC SME-Instrument or Fast Track to Innovation going to be maintained in Horizon Europe? Yeah.
The information that we have is that actually the EIC, as you may know, it is not something new. It is a pilot now, which was launched in 2017. Yeah. Initially, this pilot it had 2,700 million euros, and then it was extended to 3,000 million euros, 3 billion euros for the period 2018-2020. So the EIC structure will quite likely remain the same in Horizon Europe. The only novelty that we see is that the SME phase 1 instrument has been phased out. The feasibility studies were phased out since September 2019, but yeah, it is quite likely that the structure of the EIC will remain the same in Horizon Europe.
Okay, Anders Thompson asks, the EIC Accelerator can also include Asia or only European countries?
According to the work program, thank you very much, Anders. According to the work program, EIC Accelerator is targeting SMEs from EU member states or Horizon 2020 associated countries. That means that Asia, it's not within the geographical scope of the program in this case, by the time being.
Thank you. Sandra asks, the next cutoff of the EIC SME instrument also admits projects related to COVID-19, or were they only accepted in the previous calls?
Who knows? But thanks very much, Sandra. Who knows? But in any case, the EIC Accelerator Pilot, it's a bottom-up approach program. That means that regardless the theme, you can submit the proposal in any sector or any field that you may consider of interest of you. Yeah. So we don't have a top-down approach here. What we can see is that in the last call for proposals of the EIC Accelerator, a lot of proposals related to COVID-19 have been submitted because of the Commission encouraged to do so. Now we will have another call closing on the 20th of March, another one closing on the 7th of October, which is still, and again, it's bottom-up, which means that, Sandra, you may want to apply a proposal for the COVID-19. The fact that the Commission is encouraging, for instance, in this case, to apply more and more to find solutions for the COVID-19 doesn't mean that they will be prioritized in terms of evaluation. Yeah, but just to give a simple answer to your question, there will be projects related to any sector, any field, and you can apply for it.
Thank you, Jorge. Sylvia Mothi asks a question in the same line as the previous one. The EIC Accelerator Fast Track for COVID-related solutions that was launched in the last call will remain for other remaining 2020 cutoffs? you have already answered.
Yeah, it is pretty similar to the. Thanks very much, Sylvia. It is pretty similar to the question asked by Sandra. So my answer would remain the same. So it's a bottom-up approach, and well, and I strongly encourage you, if you're interested in COVID-19, to apply for it in the remaining 20 and 20 cut-off call for proposals.
So Filippo Carmi says, I think that the period is an opportunity to study human impact or climate change and pollution, even if we try to do not freeze in the economy and trade in fighting moon reality. Money to invest in research is the same problem all over the world. So that's another question. Antonio also says that the webinar is very interesting. Katerina says, at a certain point, you mentioned face-to-face meeting. Can this be done on Skype?
I don't know, Katerina. Thanks very much for your question. I don't know how it's gonna be from now on. They are normally face-to-face interviews, but who knows? Maybe they can be done on Skype. I'm sorry, Katerina. I have no answer for your question.
Thank you, Jorge. I just have one more question. It's about the equity fund. For example, to those SMEs that have applied for an accelerator project or the previous SME-Instrument project, in the proposals in which they don't consider from the beginning this funding about equity, what are the steps that they have to follow? Do they have to wait until they finished the accelerator or SME project to ask for equity funding, or they can do it previous to finalizing their innovation project? What do they have to do?
But normally that's done at the previous phase of starting the project. Yeah. So you submit the proposal, and then at the proposal level, you identify whether you want to go for grant only or for grant plus equity funding, right? So if your proposal is pre-selected, they will go through an evaluation process. And this evaluation process, I would say, it has like two different ways regarding if you have applied in relation to if you have applied for grants only, or if you want to apply for grant plus equity. Yeah. So so going back to your question, you have to do it at proposal level, and once it is pre-selected, and you go the next evaluation step, further in the next evaluation step. You will have two different ways. In the case of grants only, you will go after a successful evaluation to the signature of the grant agreement. If you have applied for grants plus equity, you will have to go through a previous process to the European Investment Bank, which is called due diligence. Okay, so it is not that you apply for the project and then you get the funding and then you reapply for the funding equity, but it's you know, it's a proposal level.
Okay, thank you, Jorge. Raquel Simon asked, could we have access to this presentation? It is a very nice summary of Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe. I have to answer this. This is for me. Yes, Raquel, we will upload all the info. We will upload the recorded video and also the additional materials and this presentation. And once we have the video edited, we will upload everything together, and we will send you all an email with the information and the link to the website. Okay, so I think there is no other questions. Thank you, Jorge, for your interesting presentation, and thank you to all the attendees for sharing their time together in this training. As I've already said, I will send you a link with all the information once we upload it in the VIDA website. Thank you, everybody, okay, and have a nice day.
So thanks very much. Have a nice day and stay healthy. Thank you very much. Huh? Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.